This is the time of year to be hunting these bottoms. I know you guys are all excited about things like this H bar. Came right back down into reload zones, painted inside bar reversals, eights and nines on the Tom DeMark. So, here's another example. We are seeing a bunch of names that did not break the lows, and those are the ones that I think are going to do well here this summer. What was it? KMD. Remember we were talking about this one yesterday. That's the kind of shit I absolutely love to see. That just looks so pretty. There's your Bitcoin chart. Probably a bit of position squaring there at the end of the trade in the stock market. Now Bitcoin's probably going to drift a bit. Do we actually start going and issuing topping patterns and sell signals up here? I don't know. We'll see. Only time will tell. Suppose the good part about it is we got a little bit of a wiggle room here. So if we do happen to issue a sell signal here, the original market structure top pattern from Friday is still in place. And if we did get actually a sell signal, then this algo trade would actually make a bit of money. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, day's still young. Probably also, too, there was a bit of position squaring there heading into the retail close there for New York. Because keep in mind, they're going to be closed tomorrow, right? So now you're seeing Litecoin come back a little bit there. And, as I had said there, and I've said it a few times, I'll say it again. If you happen to have a W that's jumping out at you and you're like, oh, gee whiz, that thing looks good and I wanted to get into it. Okay, great. I don't think it's a good idea to chase. And I think it's a good idea that you just, slow and steady kind of idea. Somebody was mentioning that this thing's firming up here a little bit. So way to go, Adam. Adam stepped in on the buy side there on this one the other day. I didn't really like the look of this, and there's no way I could buy any more of that as long as I keep hearing Chapter 11 talk. And considering it is the holiday weekend, we have to be a little bit careful about what we're actually seeing here. You might find that after the holiday, the Americans come back with a big old sell pattern working again. A couple names that were mentioned over the weekend. Zug had mentioned these. This guy sure looks interesting, the CVX. Just confirming a bullish fractal pattern down here with eights and nines on the Tom DeMark. So you can see that guy's looking pretty cheap, eh? And this GEL, if I understand correctly, he's kind of interested in this one too. You can see the BOD levels that I've drawn out. If we get a nice W over here, I might take a look at him. So there are definitely, and this is the time of year to be hunting these bottoms. I know you guys are all excited about things like this H bar. Came right back down into reload zones, painted inside bar reversals, eights and nines on the Tom DeMark. So, here's another example. I know guys like Eddie were bullish of this EGLD inside bar. This guy broke to new lows though, so I don't really like the look of that. But we are seeing a bunch of names that did not break the lows, and those are the ones that I think are going to do well here this summer. So like this Cello, for example. Yeah, mind you, he did break. That's the same sort of thing. Nice inside bar following a break. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that rally. Way to go, anybody who bought that. But there was what was it? KMD. Remember we were talking about this one yesterday. That's the kind of shit I absolutely love to see. That just looks so pretty. US dollar index, this is a daily chart. So US dollar index, if it does continue to work its way down here, we haven't hit this 2.618 yet, which is interesting. This is a V bottom. So that's interesting. I mean, hell, if this is a megaphone, then we go there to there, right? Maybe that's how we hit that 2.618. And that's sort of your, risk on, stocks go zooming up kind of idea as this thing comes down and hits that 2.618 and sort of finishes this correction move. Momentum, this looks like a big MACD coil, which means that it's building to something. Hasn't really fired yet, but there is the top of the coil. There is the bottom of the coil. You can see they lost it, but then brought it back. Usually these things will probably coil right into that apex. And then usually what I find happens, and maybe this was a case of this, I don't know. But usually what ends up happening with these coils is you get like a big explosive move one direction, then a violent snapback the other way. Is that what that is right there? Maybe, could be. I don't know. That's a tough one. If we're continuing this coil, then we probably go like that. Then, again, you can either get a huge move in one direction, then a snapback the other way. The point here is that momentum is building. and it's going to build to some huge crescendo here. Usually what ends up happening here in the summer is you actually have the US dollar come off as, you know, the stocks all get bid up into nosebleed territory. So what's the big conclusion about the US dollar index? Is this maybe a bullish bot setup? Could be. So that's an awfully big pattern. I think just in the short term, I would be expecting a bit of weakness to bring price back down, maybe like another Wyckoff check kind of idea of these lows. And through that window, I would expect risk to actually catch a bit of a bid here. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. I suppose if that US dollar index is coming off here, then that means we probably should expect to see things like euro strength. So US dollar heading down. Interesting. Euro actually is also got a top working. It's not the best looking top, but it is there nonetheless. So isn't that interesting? You know, actually this might even be a scenario where the Asian currencies actually are the drivers here. Yeah, I could see euro actually head down to new lows. You know, if the Spanish economy is still on its knees, remember the headlines that we saw there just a little while ago. Spain manufacturing contracts for third month. Italian factory activity falls the most since 2000. So if we still continue to get, like, you know, these are the pigs nations. If we still continue to get weakness out of Southern Europe, maybe the Northern Europeans are going to have to cool their jets on raising interest rates too much more. Did see things like the British pound and stuff actually doing well because they did raise interest rates. Although, geez, not really the prettiest looking chart there. It's kind of gobbledygook. So there's not really much to do there. In fact, that British pound's coming off a long way. So, you know, if you actually start to see the economies roll over there in Europe, you'll probably see this thing come back down. Big old gaps down here. That probably gets filled in this fall, you know, when we go into some sort of crisis. But in the short term, if the US dollar index is working its way lower, then that means that we probably see this thing head back up, eat this wick up top here. And of course, that was a new high. So let's see whether the British pound breaks to new highs. That would be sort of that risk on kind of talk. So I guess the question really here is, what's the Japanese yen look like? And is this sort of a money is flowing into Asia, certain portions of Asia? Once again, all right, so could you make the argument that the Japanese yen is getting down into buying windows? Kind of looks like it. Reload zones? Well, we are there. Off this original top, which never did get broken, but interesting, 4669, 4669, right around 78.6, which is the original double bottom level. So it looks like this yen could actually work its way a bit lower here. That is the lowest low that we're working with right now. So probably 38.2 is 50%. So probably up against these highs right here. That would be sort of my knee-jerk reaction. There's Colin. 38.2 right up against that moving average. So I guess that's probably that. You know what this probably is going to turn into is boom, 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 boom. So we'll keep our eyes peeled for something along those lines, which means that we should be thinking about some sort of pivot on the Japanese yen here fairly soon. I don't know whether it's here today, but probably pretty soon.